I think it was quite interesting to work with Tumblr, which I hadn't actually used until beginning this project, but it was definitely interesting to input our family history into social media. My mum was a bit wary, like, don't put our photographs online, people will stalk us. But I do think it has actually worked quite well, especially within Tumblr, or even within my theme itself using the grid format. It actually has been quite effective at telling the story, which I suppose is the main goal of the project. But at the same time, it has obviously, integrated that sense of community, integrated social media into the documentary, which is the essential goal of the project. But assessment aside, I have actually quite thoroughly enjoyed putting together the project. It's been really interesting to just discover my family's story, so speak with my dad, and just broaden my knowledge base about Polish culture, my parents' childhoods, their parents' childhoods, and how Poland changed over the pre- and post-war period. So it's been incredibly interesting to just get that depth of knowledge that I would not otherwise have had. We did leave Poland when I was 5, so I obviously have very little knowledge of what Poland was like or what my life would have been like had we not migrated. I think as a family we've been quite lucky in the sense that I guess a lot of other migrant families would have faced a struggle, inability to find a job, just struggles with buying a house, whereas my parents were quite lucky and we bought a house within a year of arriving in Australia. So I think that's one of the things that's come up in the documentary, is just the fact that my family, in comparison to what would perhaps be the norm, have been incredibly lucky, and that's how we are here today. And it's been quite interesting to talk to my dad about his experiences in his childhood and how he thinks he has benefited from migrating. One of the most interesting questions I did pose during the interviews was whether he at any point had regretted migrating to Australia. I was expecting him to say that he missed his family, that it was his home country, he couldn't imagine having lived anywhere else, and he had settled in order to allow my sister and I to have a better life. But he was actually 100% optimistic, had no regrets whatsoever about leaving his home country, which is both interesting and I guess somewhat inspiring. But yeah, it was definitely just one of the most interesting parts of the documentary.